Thank you. That's quite an introduction. Now I feel a little bit of pressure. But I am glad to be with you this morning and be able to. Is it still morning? It's still morning, isn't it? Oh, thank you. We don't want to have a Marilyn Monroe moment, do we? That would be bad. That was.
Just real quick, just so you know, those vents are for me because I sweat a lot when I preach, and so they're for me. So guys, please turn that off,
Yeah,
unless
I was gonna
unless
say
I
it's
get up
cold
here
up here, but I didn't know I was.
drafty. And sometimes, if I want the spirit to breathe and to blow my coat up, I have them turn that off. Just so you know, just a little bit. So anyway.
Well, it would be good for my modeling poses, but maybe not so much for my wardrobe. Oh, all right, let's start over. I am glad to be here with you this morning, and I am glad to be a part of this team that gets to tell you the story. And it's always amazing to me how much we, without meaning to, we overlap what we're going to say. Because look at the first verse that I want to talk about this morning. It starts like this: "For we are God's masterpiece." He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. Now, you'll notice it's not the same translation that Tom used, but I like it. This is the New Living Translation, and I actually like the word masterpiece. To me, it's a magnificence. It shows beauty as opposed to just workmanship or handy piece. And I love that it says we are created anew in Christ. And Tom did a great job of fleshing it out, so I'm not going to repeat that. But I also want to say that we are created anew so we can do good things. The doing good things is not earning us anything. It's because we're created anew. And then I want to move on to a passage in 2 Peter. 2 Peter 1, 3, and 4 tells us this: "By His divine power, God has given us everything we need for living a godly life." Pause. I don't think we believe that. I don't think we believe that we have everything that we need for living a godly life. We'll talk about that more in a minute. We have received all of this by coming to know Him, the one who called us to Himself by means of His marvelous glory and excellence. And because of His glory and excellence, He has given us great and precious promises. These are the promises that enable you to share His divine nature and escape the world's corruption caused by human desires. It's all His doing. As we began talking about the theme for this year, the resolution, the last chapter, playing our part, early on, I got a picture in my mind and haven't been able to get rid of that picture. So I'm going to share it with you today. Have any of you been to, maybe you chaperoned, maybe you remember your own 8th grade school or community dance? Anyone been there? Okay, we've got some people who have been there. I mean, is there anything more awkward than an 8th grade dance? I mean, really, it's awkward for everyone. It's awkward for the chaperones. It's awkward for the dancers. It's just awkward. The girls are taller than the boys at this point. No one's confident in their dancing skills, and they're even less confident in their asking someone to dance skills. It's a rite of passage, but it's awful. I think the reason that this picture comes up for me is because when I think of that image of all those people, all those kids in the room, I remember that wanting to dance. I want to dance. I want to dance. I want to get out there and I want to have fun on the dance floor. But I don't know if my dancing is good enough. And then we get there and we kind of panic. And so that image to me shows this, like, that's where we are. That's where we are. Last year, I was really inspired by Alan, who preached the gospel so beautifully to us through a movie. And so this year, I'm gonna take a whirl at the same thing. Do any of my Gen Xers remember the 1984 movie Footloose with Kevin Bacon? All right. Okay, so for those of you who don't, here's the plot. There's a small country town where a few years back, some teens were killed because of a car accident involving drinking and driving. And so the town minister decides to prevent that from happening again. He implements a whole series of laws and restrictions and regulations for everyone in the town. There's no loud music, and there's no dancing, and there's no drinking, and there's early curfews, and there's mandatory church attendance for everyone. It's a real fun town to be in. In fact, the preacher's daughter at one point expresses this sentiment. She doesn't use the word rapture, but she does say, "I just can't wait to get out of this town." And then one day, as the story would have it, a new guy named Ren comes to town. And he comes from the big city. And he notices quickly that there's not much life in this town. So he says to a couple of the high school kids, "What do y'all do for fun in this town?" And they say, "Nothing. There's nothing fun in this town. They're not even allowed to have a school dance." Well, Ren says, "That's no good. We're teenagers. We're supposed to be dancing. We're supposed to be having fun. We're supposed to be living life." And so Ren takes on the town leaders to try to have a prom for this school. Well, nothing in town changes without going for the town council, who, as you probably imagine already, is run by the reverend who rules the town. So Ren goes to the town meeting, and he stands before the law and the religious leaders, and believe it or not, he opens his Bible. And he reads from the Psalm, and he talks about the dance of celebration. And he reads from Samuel, and he talks about King David dancing. And he reads from Ecclesiastes, and he talks about that there's a time and a season for everything. It's a great little speech, but I want us to see the parallel here, because Ren stands up and he opens the scriptures and he basically says, "You have interpreted reality incorrectly. You are trying to protect yourselves with these laws and these rules and these restrictions, but you're not living." Well, the religious leaders don't like it. Are you following the parallel? And they aren't willing to let the dance happen in the town limits. But it's quickly pointed out that there's a sawmill just outside of town where the law doesn't have any more authority. So the prom is planned, and the scene jumps to all these teenagers jumping in their pickups, and they're riding out to the sawmill, and they're decorating, and they're laughing, and they're enjoying their time. It's like, we get to have the party. We get to dance. And so they're preparing, and it's exciting, and there's enthusiasm. And then it's everything that they've been hoping for. And then they go home to get dressed for the night. And so there's this great scene because it's like late 70s, early 80s fashion. So they're putting on all these frilly, flowy dresses, and of course the Farrah Fawcett bangs, and then the guys have on these like powder blue tuxes with lots of ruffles, and so they're all dressed in their stuff, and they get to the sawmill, and it's like, it's time to party. And the next scene is this decorated barn, this decorated sawmill with all of the party lights elegantly strung through the rafters. And the punch bowl was strategically placed in the corner. And the disco ball is in the middle of the dance floor. And under the disco ball, Nothing. Nothing. Not one single person. No one is dancing. Every person is standing against the wall, looking at their shoes, fluffing their dresses. The boys are smelling their breath, drinking punch. I mean, so much punch consumed. But no one's dancing. The mood has gone from excitement and exhilaration to dread and fear. What do we do now? This is where I see us in the story. We're at the party. The fight has already been fought for us. He stood in front of the town council. The battle against the law has already been won. He made a way on the cross outside of town. And the stage is set. The room is decorated, and the disco ball is spinning. We have been made anew so that we can do good things. And we have everything we need for life and godliness. Why aren't we dancing? We want to. It's in us. We want to. I want to be that person in the middle of the dance floor, dancing with abandon. It's in us as new creations. It's in that mandate to multiply and to manage. The desire is there. But for some reason, I'm stuck against the wall. Is it because we've been told for so long that we shouldn't? And so now we're afraid to? Is it because I'm afraid of making a mistake? What if I do it wrong? Am I afraid that my dance isn't as good as your dance? Maybe I'm an okay dancer, but I'm not as good. Maybe we blame the music. Well, this just isn't my style. I prefer slow waltz. Maybe we're afraid of not being asked to dance, or of being rejected when I ask. What is holding us back? What's holding you back? Well, here's the good news. The movie doesn't end there. The hero shows up to the party in his fancy red suit, and he confidently runs into the center of the dance floor, and he yells, "Let's dance!" And instantly, everyone does. The music and the choreography explode, and the dance the night away, and everyone's involved, and no one is left standing on the wall. And no one's drinking punch, and no one's worried about what they look like or about how good their dance moves are. In fact, in the scene, they actually, do one of those like dance circles where they all circle up and everyone takes a turn going into the center and showing their best move. And it doesn't matter what the move is because everyone's laughing and everyone's enjoying, and there's life and there's excitement and there's enthusiasm. What made the difference? His presence. Showed up. The hero doesn't just fight the battle and then say, "Okay, go dance." He doesn't say, "You ought to dance." He doesn't even say, "Dance for me." He doesn't say, "You better dance." He says, "Let's dance." It's an invitation. It's a partnership. His presence is the key. His presence is all we need. We have what we need for life and godliness. What is your dance floor? What is your garden? Your bonton? He's not sending you somewhere. He's inviting you somewhere. Listen to him say to you today, let's garden. Let's manage. Let's disciple. Let's dance.